Hello everyone, Taylorson here, and welcome to Stage 6 of the Tour Auvergne Rhone Alpes playthrough that we're doing on the Tour de France 2026 game, and we are finally entering the mountains, which means the general classification that's on screen now is probably going to change. Wout van Aert is in the yellow jersey at the moment, 3 seconds ahead of Joao Almeida, who I'm sure will hope to take it back by the end of the stage. We sit in 13th place with Tobias Harland Johannesson, and we're looking to make up the 2 minutes on Joao Almeida, and we will slowly do that, hopefully, one stage at a time. We set off then for the stage, and Andreas Kruijn, our sprinter from yesterday, his job is done for the race, so we're going to put him in the breakaway and make sure that we've got a rider up there, just in case A, the breakaway goes all the way, or B, we need to use him as a domestique if they get caught later in the stage. And he's taken quite a few good riders up there with him, Buitrago, Berthe and Paripantra. First King of the Mountain point is underway then, and even if Andreas Kruijn wins all of these, he still won't be in the polka dot jersey belonging to Martin Urienstad of the team at the moment. But we're going to try and take points off the rest of these breakaway counterparts, because I imagine they'll be in breakaways on future stages, and some of these guys, like Berthe, who's just sprinting past us now, have been in the breakaways before, and especially Georg Zimmermann, who we've just sprinted past on the front, and it should be an easy victory for Andreas Kruijn over this climb. It indeed is, so he takes 2 points, with Zimmermann taking 1. Zimmermann, of course, was our main rival on previous stages in King of the Mountain sprints, so it's probably clear that he is going for the blue and white polka dot jersey at this Tour Auvergne Rhone Alpes, but with 1.5 kilometers to go until the next climb, we're going to do the same again. Come to the front of the race and pace at 100% and see if riders have to sprint to get to the wheel. Indeed they do, with Kianoi Brooks and Clement Berthe, but Zimmermann's moving up on the left-hand side and has launched his sprint very early. We're going to try and get on the wheel of the German champion and come up the inside, and we just clip the barrier, so that might be a troubling sign for us as Hull tries to squeeze his way through the middle, but Zimmermann gets there. And had we not clipped the barrier side on the right corner, I think we'd have won that easily. On the next climb then, I'm focusing on not making an easy mistake like the last one and giving away points to one of our King of the Mountain rivals, but we're still sat on the back of this group with 3 kilometers left. But look at the gap, 70 kilometers remain, and once again, the peloton are letting the breakaway have this. Visma Lease A Bike have no interest, despite being in the yellow jersey, of chasing this breakaway down. And that's a good sign for the likes of Georg Zimmermann and Andreas Kruijn, who is only 15 minutes behind in the general classification and could be making vast jumps up the order by the end of the day. But he is moving to the front once more, and this time he's got a little bit of a gap. So let's see if he can hold this one all the way to the line. They have chased him down, but Berthe has used up plenty of attacking stamina, you'd think, in doing so, which means we should be able to just sprint away from them at the front and take the points, and that is exactly what we do. That is a textbook KOM from Andreas Kruijn. The next climb, though, is probably going to be the most difficult to win because the pace has been infernal from the foot, and the better climbers, the purer climbers, are trying their best to drop the heavier riders like Hugo Hull and like Andreas Kruijn. We're sticking to the back wheel of the Canadian on Alpecin Premier Tech at the moment and trying to get all the energel we possibly can to try and keep up with this group. But it is very difficult because Harold Tejada is putting in a very difficult pace on the front of this race into the final kilometre of this climb, and we just don't have enough red energy to keep up. We're going to use it all trying to stay in the group, but riders are just going to ride away. Valentin Paripantra at the front has got himself a gap and looks like he's going to win this climb. but now it's all about just sticking with the rest of this group and making sure we're in there by the bottom of the descent to try and go for a potential stage win with Rhône. But based on this climbing form, I reckon it looks unlikely. A victory in the intermediate sprint, however, is a far more realistic proposition, and we are at the back of the breakaway. Joao has just about made his way back in, but Sam Mizanob and Diaz have been dropped. They are the two least talented climbers in this breakaway, but Joao kicks off the intermediate sprint battle. 3 bonus seconds for the winner, and I doubt they're going to matter, but we're trying to win it anyway. And we do so with Andreas Rhône, time the sprint to perfection, and get around Joao for 10 points and 3 seconds. But the time gap has absolutely ballooned. It got to almost 12 minutes, and at the foot of the final 2 climbs, it is now 10 minutes and 14 seconds. Meanwhile, we are just going to go our own tempo and try and win the first category climb of the day, and then try and stick on for as long as possible, realistically, to the rest of the breakaway. It's good that we've already got a gap so we can go at our own tempo and try and hold the breakaway off, but it is going to mean that the race will be pulled apart by Andreas Rhône. Meanwhile, the peloton is down to 77 riders. We've still just about got all of our riders in there. Anders Skarset is struggling slightly, but is still remaining in the peloton. So that's a very good sign for the rest of the team. But Andreas Rhône is going it alone to try and win this King of the Mountains set of points. It's 5 points for the first rider over the top, and we have been caught by the rest of the break, but Georg Zimmermann has pulled a very hard turn to try and bring us back. We certainly can't keep this pace up until the end of the stage, but we're going to try and attack out of the saddle to try and get this King of the Mountains point. Lorenzo Fortunato on our wheel, and he looks like he's going to let us have this, but we're going to make sure, 100% sure, that we're over the line, and indeed we do. But Buitrago immediately sees that and counters over the top. Zimmermann can follow, so can Paripantra, and so can Fortunato. Meanwhile, Uiterbrooks has been dropped, so he's going at his own tempo on this climb. I'm going to try and make it back, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to, so we're in no man's land now. Not long to go on the final climb of the day, and the first percentages are starting in anger now. Here are our front 4. Santiago Buitrago sat second wheel at the moment. Valentin Paripantra leads the way. And now the German national champion Georg Zimmermann takes over, with Fortunato now pulling a turn on the front. None of these guys really want to be setting the tempo at the moment before Paripantra says, "That's enough, I'm coming to the front, and I am making this race." Andreas Rhône, though, has been dropped by Berthe and Uiterbrooks, so they are on the chase of this 4-man leading group, but will they be able to get across? Paripantra pulling a very hard turn on the front has just extended the gap ever so slightly, but for now, they're all riding side by side, watching one another. It's almost like a tracked sprint, but Paripantra once again comes to the front and presses on. He's now under the Flamme Rouge, as are his 3 counterparts, and they are waiting for the sprints to be launched. It's tense, and they are looking around at each other, but Valentin Paripantra continues to press this one on into the barriered section now, and somebody's got to try and spark this one up, and it's Paripantra. He looks like he's got the energy to go across the line and take the stage win. Meanwhile, here's the situation behind. It's UAE Team Emirates that have just been pulling on the front, but now Seixas has gone to the front. He's not happy with the tempo and is trying to attack away. He's got Matteo Jorgenson glued to his wheel, and Wout van Aert cannot follow this pace in the yellow jersey. Tobias Harland-Johannesson is now trying to peg this gap, but Seixas has now dropped Jorgenson round this right-hander and is trying to go it alone to gain time in the general classification on his rivals. Into the second part of this climb then, and onto the steeper percentages goes the young Frenchman as Matteo Jorgenson sticks the gap. It's not too much for him to close, but closing it at the moment is Tobias Harland-Johannesson from the peloton. He looks like he's got a bit of a gap on Wout van Aert now, and it's a 3-man chase group, 3 sets of 1. on an individual time trial now, trying to get to the line as quickly as possible. Seixas now rounds the next corner. He's going to be counting the corners to go until the line and trying to be in front of all of his GC competitors. He's rocking and rolling on the bike as Tobias Johannesson looks to have caught up to Matteo Jorgenson and is letting him do the pacing on the front. 1 kilometre to go, and Seixas is really starting to pay for his effort. Matteo Jorgenson goes the long way around the corner, and Tobias Johannesson is forced to come to the front. He's out of the saddle and sprinting. He's going to fly past Seixas, and he's going to take time on the rest of his GC rivals. Uno X, it's a big day for them in the GC. It's a long gap to overturn, but he's certainly done his part today. And there we have it. Valentin Paripantra of Soudal Quickstep takes the stage win, but none of those guys will be in and around the GC picture. It looked like it for a while that Georg Zimmermann could have been your new yellow jersey by the end of the stage, but he indeed isn't, and the yellow jersey remains on the shoulders of Joao Almeida. He actually takes it off Wout van Aert, but keeps the jersey that he had 2 stages ago. So Joao Almeida is back in yellow. Paripantra wins stage 6 then, 5 seconds ahead of Zimmermann and 9 seconds ahead of Fortunato and Buitrago. Andreas Kern from the breakaway finishes 7th, but Tobias Johannesson, 8 minutes 21 down. He takes 9 seconds on Paul Seixas. He takes 18 seconds on Matteo Jorgenson and Carlos Rodriguez, and he takes even more on Isaac Del Toro and Ben Healy among the rest of the GC competitors. Joao Almeida finishes 8 minutes and 49 down, which means in the general classification now, Almeida leads by 10 seconds from Wout van Aert, Matteo Jorgenson in 3rd on 21 seconds with Ayuso dropping to 4th, 52 seconds down, but Tobias Johannesson has shaved the gap to 1 minute and 38 now, which bodes well for the upcoming 2 mountain stages, but they will be tomorrow and on Sunday. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new, and stay safe, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.